Hello, I'm Sam. I run an AI automation consulting business called Profit Plug AI. We did over $400,000 in the last 12 months. The goal is to hit $1 million by the end of this year. The way these videos usually go is I start off with some YouTube comment Q&A, then I jump into some business strategy and talk about the stuff that I am doing on a day-to-day basis to essentially grow my business to a million and add another 40K a month to my business so that hopefully that can help you out as well. So, today, let's start off with the questions that we have. First off, Karthik says, Bro, your next video, can you cover the top 5 niches where businesses are actually paying for AI? Most YouTube videos are too generic. A video on picking the right niche, getting clients, and where to find them would be super helpful. Also, if you're starting from zero, what's the best way to land your first client? Upwork, cold email, LinkedIn, or something else? Okay. Well, talking about niches, there are a few niches depending on your experience level that you should get into. If you're starting from zero, is what I'm assuming, go into stuff that's tried and tested. A lot of people do pay for content automations, so stuff that can clone you, people pay for that. Stuff that can repurpose your content, automations for that, people pay for that. And also, a lot of people pay for these chatbots. I don't know why, but people still pay for that. That seems like a good way to make money these days. Apart from that, I've seen voice pop up quite a bit. If you can figure out how to do good voice agents, you can really tap into a lot of these sales related automations, and you can pick that. So if you're good at video, generate them. If you're good at just figuring out what works, what does not work, probably get into these content automations. If you're good at voice, get into sales related automations. If you're just trying to get into creating automations and you just want to get your hands dirty, it's just start selling anything to everyone, honestly. But talking about niches, very interestingly, what I am not a big fan of is people selling fucking go high level CRMs and AI websites and all that shit. Don't do that. Just stay away from that. There are industries where one client to them over a lifetime is worth a couple $1,000s. So don't think order value, think lifetime value. So say if you purchase something from me, first time you pay me $50, the next time you pay me $100, the third time you pay me $150. Grand total you paid me $300, right? So one customer on an average over their lifetime is worth $300 to me, right? There are certain businesses like that where the lifetime value for a customer is very high. So for businesses like that, if you can help them, say, reactivate customers or get more leads in, HVAC is a great example of that. You can do leads related stuff, sales related stuff for that. Dentists, med spas, cosmetic surgeons, these are huge. You could honestly just pick any of these and just go balls deep into it. But the whole point is going balls deep into anything that you're doing, right? Initially, I'd say just don't learn anything. This is the worst, and sounds like the worst advice, but that's what I did, and that's what most people I know did. Like, don't focus on learning anything. Just assume you've built something already in your head and try and sell it to as many people as you can. Like if you're DMing people, DM people. Like if you have mail stuff set up, send mails, call people if you wanna. But if you're starting out, I'd say go on Upwork. I'll tell you why. think about it this way. So this is you, right? This is Karthik with a K. He wants to make money. You have to understand you can never make money. You have to take money from somebody else, right? There are a lot of people in the market. Some people, let me create 4 people. These people, they don't know what their problem is, right? So these people don't know in the first place whether they need an automation or not, right? You do not work for these people. There are people who know that they have a problem, but they don't know the solution to it, right? You want to work for these people, right? There are some people who know their problem, who also know the solution, and they're looking for somebody for that. You go work for these people. How do you find these people? Well, people who don't know they have a problem in the first place, you're probably DMing people, cold calling people. Whenever you're doing that, you don't know what you're getting, essentially, right? So you're basically targeting everybody. When you're like, when you say applying through freelance platforms, who know that, hey, I have a problem and I'm looking for this specific person, right? This is stuff like Upwork or like any other freelance platform. This is a gold mine because you don't have to sell to these people. These people already know what they want. They already know the problem. They also know the solution that they need, right? So this is a great place to begin, but not a long place where you want to stay at. You ideally want to stay here, right? Because this gives you a lot of headroom to be like, hey, you know you have a problem, right? And to solve this problem, I have multiple ways to solve this problem. Depending on your context, let's pick the best one. When you solve this problem, there are going to be more problems that appear, right? Then you solve the next one. And that's how you build relationships with other people. So my recommendation to you, my man, would be, if you're starting off, go on Upwork, apply Upwork, LinkedIn, any place that has posted a job, right? What you want to do is apply to every single one of them. Like, what's a good analogy? You want to do hyper personalization in all of them, right? The way I did it was I was recording like 5-minute looms for every single job application that I was doing, right? Like for looms where I was like, I know that I am the best fit for this role, even though I did not know what the fuck I was doing. I had the conviction that, hey, if they give me this job with the amount of money that they're going to pay me, I'm going to deliver, right? I used to make a bomb ass loom. So do that, apply a lot on Upwork, invest in connects. Upwork connects cost some money, but you will almost always get a positive return on those. So put $100 down or $200 down on Upwork connects, right? Get freelancer plus Upwork plus whatever, and just start applying, and apply like every connect is valuable, right? Once you do that, bro, you're golden. You're golden. You're gonna get your first client very soon, very soon. All right, Arsh Reza, I have built something for cold emailing, but I'm not able to share the link. I think YouTube doesn't allow that. Don't worry, my man. Like in a few days, you will be able to. Spoiler alert. In a few days. Share your plans, mate. No, I won't. Um, it is super exciting. Also, for some future video, can you share your thoughts on starting a physical product business? No services, SaaS little products. I'm keen on to know your perspective on that. That is 3D printing business. How do you approach that? I'll probably not pick anything 3D printing. Let's think it out. Um, Not an expert, but since you're asking for a perspective, I mean, why not? Um, I know for a fact that the trajectory of a physical product business sort of looks like this, because you kind of have to figure out the product, then all of a sudden you sell lots of it, then you run into operational overheads, manufacturing capacity issues, logistic issues, you fix some constraints, your stuff skyrockets till the next bottleneck appears. So it kind of moves like this is a typical e-com um, business business path, whatever. How I would approach it is, I would probably, if I know I'm selling a physical product, I need a product, and since it's physical, I need a product in physical reality. There are a few ways I look at it. The amount of money that you spend on a product, it really defines the strategy that you want to go ahead with. I personally feel like you need to have a very, 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 very good product, very, very good physical product for you to grow it successfully, and I'll tell you why. I think the main reason behind that is, say, I give you a course or something, right? And you buy the course, it exists on your computer for a while, it goes away, right? This is going to stay on my table. This is going to stay on my table. This is going to be in my surroundings all the time. Every time I look around, I'm going to see this, right? So it has to be very good so that I don't hate it. So that's one. So I would put a lot of effort into product. Then today I would put a lot of effort into trying to figure out a way to make it go viral if it's something that's lower ticket. If it's something that's higher ticket, I would try to, like, in both cases, I would try to get as many real world reviews as possible. So, like, for example, take this product, go to the market, talk to people. So the way you build good products is you talk to people, right? So be like, hey, do you like this? What do you hate about this? What do you like about this? Take feedback, improve, take the next version to market, right? Till you have something which is not a shitty prototype and something you can actually push to market. um, there is a lot of manufacturing constraints that come in as well. So I would probably pick something where I ideally need some sort of moat. And to do that, so the way I'm thinking about it is, if the product is cheap, there has to be a very good story behind it. The product has to be first very good. If it has a very good story behind it, has that sort of viral factor behind it, or people sharing it, some factor like that behind it, then that, goes out to people like crazy. And if it becomes too big, it's about time that, some Chinese supplier just copies it and you have a bunch of copies of your stuff in the market. But if you do have a good story behind it, if the product is very good, if you do not have any manufacturing and logistic bottlenecks, I think it, at the end of the day, comes down to marketing. But I was also planning to buy this stuff, right? So there is also another angle to this. So I was planning to buy a mattress, right? and this mattress costs a fuck ton of money, right? This is a product at the end of the day, right? Now, for me to buy a product this expensive, I probably need to know a lot more about the product, right? So, in situations like this, I'm more likely to trust people's reviews. So, I guess more or less what I'm trying to say is awesome product, awesome reviews, like build with a lot of feedback, and figure out a way to market it in a way that it stays differentiated from Chinese slop if it ever appears. So those would be my 3 cents on this. Hope that was somewhat helpful. Um, Ankur now says this video has the potential to be one of that outlier videos. So much to learn from this. Thank you. Which one is it? Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I think it's also surprisingly one of the most watched ones that I have. Interesting. Boys, regarding business strategy, let me tell you, um, there's nothing that I can share with you still. Um, it frustrates me a lot that I have not been able to do this, but family stuff and health comes first sometimes. So I was taking care of that. I have been mapping some stuff out in my notebook. It's about time that it comes on this desktop, and then you should be able to see it. But from what I can see right now is I've realized that as I've used Fable a bit, the moat for any business is no longer the software. I think this was pretty obvious to people already, but if it was not, at least it is to me now. And now that I see that happening, I'm realizing that there is a lot more that one person can do. Like a lot more one person can do compared to like 5-10 people. um, I'm really questioning the need to have a team, and I'm really trying to figure out what's like how much of my work can I turn into routines, because I have not done that aggressively yet. So that's something interesting that I'm planning to get into. And yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to share the stuff that I'm building on Claude. So stay tuned for that. And also, we are getting super close to 100, boys. I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon, but I think if I post a bunch of brain rotted shorts, we can get there. So yeah, don't want to do that. Don't want to brain rot you, boys, but gotta do stuff for the algo sometimes. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But anyways, thank you all for bringing in the questions. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I will see you all tomorrow with some exciting stuff. Tomorrow is gonna be super exciting. I can tell you that. Super exciting stuff coming your way. Stay tuned for that. I'm gonna catch you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.